welcome everyone to the month of May. This is going to be an interesting one since we've done the body, the soul, and now we're entering into the spirit. And what a better time to do that on the month of Shavuot. We've
approaching. Yeah.
It is. It's at the end of this month.
Mhm.
So it is the perfect timing to start with the spirit, and we will be covering a lot of things today.
Yeah, we're counting our way to the day of the spirit, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna read, we're the Titus 2 call. We do this every time to reiterate why we're doing it in the way that we're doing it. So here is Titus 2. But as for you, speak things that are fitting for sound instruction. Older men are to be clear-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and patience. Likewise, older women are to be sanctified in demeanor, not backbiting or enslaved to much wine. Let them be teachers of what is good, so that they may train the young women to love their husbands, to love their children, to be self-controlled, pure, managing their household, kind, submitted to their own husbands, so that God's word may not be dishonored. And then we have Revelation 19:7.
Yes. Where are we? So let us rejoice and be glad and give the glory to him, for the wedding of the Lamb has come, and his bride has made herself ready. Abba, we come before you knowing that you are the counselor. You are Almighty God, and we need your wisdom. We thank you that you speak to us freely, that you answer when we desire wisdom. You give it to us abundantly, and that's what we come before you today. We need your wisdom to understand a little bit better that we have so far, so that tomorrow we're not the same as we are today. Because as Moses said in Psalm 90, teach us to number our days so that we can present you a heart of wisdom. And that's what we desire, Father, especially in this month of May, which it has so many areas that are awesome for us to think about. And
Hard to narrow it down, isn't it?
yeah, it is, because here we are on this. So we did, like I said, body, which was the spirit of wisdom. Then we did soul, which was the spirit of understanding. And now Bina, the building. So we divided upper waters from lower waters, and we went in different areas with that. And now we're entering the spirit of counsel. And counsel, it's funny because I am a counselor, and I always thought, oh, that means the way I give his wisdom, and it isn't.
Giving advice.
Yes.
Yeah. Pouring out. No, it's actually
receiving. Because if I don't get his wisdom, then I give my wisdom. So it's how well is my inner man, my inner self, my inner being, my inner woman being built and connected. And of all days, today, I love it, counting the Omer. And why don't you give them a little bit before I say that?
Yeah, so
what that is.
Those of you who've followed us on these calls, we like to tie everything together, like where are we in the calendar? What are we doing? Because it always falls in sync. And we were talking about the Omer, and I said, Simi, I never knew the importance of counting the Omer, but I really never knew there was depth to it until I had met her, and she started to share with me, you don't have to just count the days, oh, today is number 22, or whatever. It's if you have a lot of these different companies have reflections or devotions, and Simi, a lot of you who follow Simi, she shares one every single day. And it's take this time as you're walking to the day of the Spirit being poured out to to refine your inner man, right? With these like focusing on these different character traits, focusing on the character of God and how we can be that, let ourselves be image bearers and ambassadors of that. And so
Human
anyway,
billboard.
yeah. And so it's like, oh, there's a useful way of, I mean, not to say it wasn't useful before, but for real, for me, I mean, we've kept the feast. This is our 9th cycle. And like, until a few years ago when Sibby and I met, the Omer never really meant anything to me. And then now it's like a time to discipline that inner man, or, the spirit within our man, with these traits. And so anyways, this is going to get into why that's important in just a minute, but
yeah. And today I love it that it's actually, so we are in the 5th week, which is the week of humility. And we are on the 6th day. Tonight will be our 7th day. So we finished the week of humility. And today since last night until tonight, we are in bonding, is day 6. And it is, being, I love, those of us that are doing Musar. Musar is that discipline of thinking, okay, so what is really humility? Is like, oh, I'm no one. Oh, you just go. I'm, don't even bother with me. No, it's occupying my rightful place. I'm not too big and I'm not too little. I'm just exactly what God wants me to be, but that is hard to find out, right?
You're like, what is my lane?
Right.
Who am I? Yeah.
Or how big am I? Am I that big? Am I this little?
Yeah.
What am I? And so the whole purpose of today is bonding to that true image, that humility that he gives. All of us have it. Sometimes we have false humility, that would be one end of the spectrum, or we have pride, we have the other end of the spectrum, and we're like somewhere in between here. And finding ourselves is what this month is all about. And this discipline is all about, is going to him, because we're bonding to him. We're not bonding, there is a bonding with each other, but I cannot find out who I am by looking at you.
Right.
The only thing I can see is you. And it will be, the rightful thing is to fan that flame, and that you can be all you can be. But I love how Caroline Leaf says, I am an awesome me, but I'm a lousy you.
I love that.
Yeah, I can't be you, even if I wanted with everything in me.
Yeah.
I was putting my makeup, and Rhea was watching her daughter, and was watching, and she's like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 62. And he says, oh, my mommy's 30. She's actually going to be 31. And then she said, you are like 10 years older than her. I said, no, I'm exactly double her age. And she's like, ooh. And so it's really neat to see that no matter where we're at, we grow into me, and she grows into her. And the beauty of having this relationship is that she can see Abba in me, and I can see Abba in her, and I can see, the things that you are doing so awesome in this area. And then it's like, how about it, if you
ways I need to refine my
other areas, right? And likewise, she goes like, oh, Simi, that sounded a little bit like this. And I'm like, oh, it did, didn't it? So that's the beauty of that we can be a mirror to each other and say, doing good in this area, let's work on this other area.
To help sanctify the bride.
Yeah, and be okay with it. We don't have to fear like, oh no, she's not going to be my friend anymore. When she knows the real me, she doesn't want to, she'll never talk to me again, and all this stuff, all the fears. So we're going to deal with that today. We're going to deal with that part of us that has to be up here, sitting in heavenly places with him. And we can be assured that that we are loved. First of all, we are saved in Messiah. that we are loved by our Father. We are connected to the vine. Therefore,
we can receive counsel.
yes.
Like we can hear
Mhm.
and do the things that we need to
Yeah,
hear.
I can.
And that's how it kind of ties into, so if you saw the text or, whatever got sent out, the Omer, and we're talking about the parable of the sower, how that fits in with this too, because also during this time, that's part of what this time is.
Mhm, mhm.
And Simi and I were discussing this. We said, hey, let's read this parable, the parable of the sower. So if y'all aren't familiar with it, it's in Matthew 13. And it's the first parable that Yeshua ever told. And we said, hey, let's go listen to this or read this and see what the Father's speaking to us in relation to counsel. And so we both like the Audible. So we listened to it separately and came together and discussed. And I said, what was popping out to me with the knowledge of what is counsel, it's not just, oh, me and Simi are here and we're spitting out all this information. No, this is like, what am I receiving from him, from each other, from others, to grow more fruit.
Listening.
Yes, more fruit. And it's all about listening. And that's what I told Simi. I said, as I was actually listening to this, I listened to it from the Abide app. I love the voice of the guy on the Abide app. I told her, I said, I kept hearing him talk about listening. And it's so interesting that the very first parable Yeshua decides to tell would be about, are you listening? And this is the different types of listening. And not only that, but even the physical, it painted this picture for me, how he physically got in a boat and went out to the water. And in my mind, at first I thought, why would he do that? It would seem like going further away, you wouldn't be able to hear as good. But then I grew up on a lake. And I remember it was so weird. Me and my friends would play this game. It was kind of funny. I would be on my Sea-Doo, my friend would be forever away. And she would say, whatever. And I could hear it clear as day. It was so weird because we were like, oh, we can't be talking about blah, 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 because so-and-so could hear us over there. Your parents were over there, and sound travels so clearly over water. And so I told Simi, it's like, this just boomed in my mind. His physical action of, are you listening? Actually, I'm going to make sure you hear this physically, but whether you hear this in your heart and in your mind or not, that's in your court. And he actually, by saying this parable, puts the ball in our court by basically saying, these are the different types of listeners. And you can assess which one are you,
And let me make this comment before she reads the word, because it is important that we actually hear it. Okay, if you have, and it's a buzzword right now, polyvagal, people are talking about the vagus nerve all the time and all this stuff. Okay, so there is a study that has been made on that, and all our muscles around our eyes are connected to the muscles around our mouth, and they all go to our ear. I'm just making this very simple. I don't want to get into too much in depth on this, but what happens is, depending on the tone of the voice that you are saying something, I can say good morning and smile, and you see my face and it's a good morning, right?
It lights you up.
Yeah, but if I come in, good morning,
you're like, what are you upset?
So this is what happens. And so I want you to understand this. When I do that, the tone of my voice immediately sends her down to survival mode or limbic, in a place where she's like, uh-oh, trouble. Her voice did not sound right. So depending on her background, this tightens the eardrum, that the sounds that my voice is making, it will bounce on her eardrum, goes to the brain deciphers what is it that I'm saying and tells her, oh, she said good morning. Now, if I am instead of getting in the house and saying, hey, Mary Kay, and instead I've come in the house, Mary Kay, where are you?
I'm gonna be scared.
Yes, immediately it tightens that eardrum and it does not bounce properly the sounds. All she hears is this roar, and she knows I'm in trouble. So what happens when sometimes, and what you cannot understand, and this is so important. So I want you to pay attention as you hear the word, and keep in mind, listen and understand, because this will be explained through the parable.
Okay.
Because then what if I ask you after, if I put you in a state of fear and I read that to you and I told you to do that, and then what did I say? I don't know, Mom.
All the message after that tone is not heard.
Not heard, because that eardrum got flattened, it got dampened, and your brain didn't process, and you cannot remember what I said. So we'll ask our kids, what did I say? And they're like, I don't know. And it's true, they do not know. They couldn't understand us, even though we think we said it loud and clear, right? So keep that in mind.
Yeah, if our tone is calm when we communicate a message, they're more likely to actually receive it and hear it. He says, on that day after Yeshua left the house, he was sitting by the sea, and large crowds gathered around him. So he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood on the shore. And he told them many things in parables, saying, behold, a sower went out to spread some seed. As he was scattering the seed, some seeds fell by the road, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they didn't have much soil. They sprang up immediately because the soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, they were scorched, and because they had no roots, they withered away. Other seeds fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew and choked them out. But others fell on good soil and were producing fruit. They yielded a crop, some 100, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear. Then the disciples came to him and said, why do you speak to them in parables? And he replied to them, to you has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have plenty. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. For this reason I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is being fulfilled, which says, you will keep on hearing, but will never understand. You will keep looking, but will never see. For the heart of this people has become dull. Their ears can barely hear. That heart and ears. And understand with their hearts. And they would turn, I'm sorry, I skipped forward. And they have shut their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts. Then they would turn back, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, your ears because they hear. Amen. I tell you, many a prophet and righteous ones long to see what you are seeing and did not see, and to hear what you are hearing and did not hear. You then hear the parable of the sower. So he's explaining what he said. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and doesn't understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is the one having been sown along the road. The one sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root himself, but lasts only a short while. And when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, immediately he falls away. But the one sown among the thorns, this is the one who hears the word, and the worries of the world and the seduction of wealth choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. Now the one sown on the good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands. He indeed bears fruit, yielding 100-fold, some 60, some 30 times what was sown.
Yes, and if you realize how many times the word listen, it actually starts at the beginning, it ends with listening, and then all the in between of understanding and not. So we're gonna share this screen
Yeah.
so that just to give you a visual, you've seen this visual before many times from different things that we have shared. Yeah.
Whoa.
Over there.
Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So then if you want to minimize that, yeah. Well, that's okay. You see the whole picture, right? You don't see the. There you have.
I minimize it as much as I
Okay,
can.
good. So one of the things that we've talked before and about the mind is the survival state and the emotional state are governed by fear. And there is a reason for that. There is a healthy reason for that, but only temporarily. Like survival, if I see a lion, then I know I have to take refuge, because it's not a little kitty that I'm gonna go in and touch, it's gonna eat me. So that is good for that. Everything shuts down and there is only the blood is, I could even be in the middle of digestion and the body says, no digestion, because if you're dead, who cares if you digested your food or not? So it's like everything goes down to my feet and my extremities and hands so that I can either climb or run or whatever it is that I need to do. We have seen women that had literally lift up a car when the car was over their kid in a moment of total, desperation that my kid is going to die. And we just get incredible energy from only God, right? Well, besides probably the angels that were next to her lifting the car up, right? So one day we'll see that. But the thing is that in that place, there is no understanding, because understanding is needed for future events, like you're doing this and I'm learning a lesson from it, so it will not happen again. So that's what understanding is there for. But if I may not survive this moment, who cares, right? So understanding does not enter in that equation.
Processing.
Yeah, no need to process. It actually, a lot of our athletes, especially like gymnasts, they keep them in such a rigorous environment, and it's performance, or otherwise you're out. It's constant competition that if you have follow any of them, especially the girls, you will see that they have a hard time
coming out
and getting pregnant, because the body says, who cares about children? I need to survive right now. We're not having children. That is future. Future doesn't enter in. So they live in that place in such an intense stress that they literally, stop having periods and
normal hormone production
doesn't develop properly. So all that is there just momentarily, and we should be in and out of survival mode. Limbic, am I loved? Am I connected? Is there also so that attachment is a non-negotiable, so that as a baby, if I don't cry, my mom is not going to feed me. So I need to cry in order to connect to my mom and be fed and be cared for, be loved. So my circuitry of attachment develops properly. So that is also there momentarily. You don't have a baby that cries 24 hours. 365. That is just momentarily for your needs. And as they are being met, that child usually cries less and less. When we see a chronic crier, it's a child that has been neglected and has not received and is continued to ask for something. And then it gets to a point where he goes, no. And it's like, why do I even bother? Nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's coming when I cry. So those two are just to develop the first few years of our lives. But those things the Father does use as we get older to drive us to good friends. I am so thankful that I met Mary Kate, and we've developed this friendship because we all long for someone that loves the Father as we do, wants to study his word. Like we can talk for hours, and we're not talking about the new makeup or the new haircut or I got my new dress or none of that. We talk for hours about the word. And what about this and what about that? And it's just like, did you read this? And we're in constant learning process. Oh, I just read this and I didn't even know what's there. You know, obviously we've read it so many times, and there are little areas that it just goes right over our heads, right? And because the focus is in something else, and then when that is achieved, then you have space to look for something different, and we find it's awesome. So what you're looking for, those connections, you're looking for that friendship, you're looking to have somebody to go on the journey with you and grow with you. And sometimes, you know, we've been in places where we don't have those friends, and we are dry and we need those friends. And where are they? And Father, why don't I have a friend that I can, you know, sojourn with and have this good, deep conversations? Because my inner self it's withering. I need that. And he does. In the agrarian field, they would tell you that when they want rich fruit, they would withhold water. So then those trees, they don't do it all the time, just in certain times of the year, so that the roots go deeper trying to find that water. But then when they are strong enough, then the water comes and then they have amazing fruit. So that has happened to all of us, where we have stages of
seasons of dryness.
Yeah, and we don't have those friends, but all of that is so that we can have more fruit. And then when that happens, we are dealing with our inner self. It's not as much as like, oh, that doesn't look good on you, oh, change that. Or we're not doing that to each other. What we're doing is seeking to fit in the space that we belong. And if I say something that she says, you don't have to worry about, Simi, come on, that's not even important. You're right, it's not.
We're in a state of examining that fruit, like what he even talks about in the parable. It's like that one that received this word and it was in good soil, they're the ones that are bearing the fruit. And so it's like, well, what is that fruit? You know, it's these character traits, like what we're talking about when we're counting the Omer. And are we done with this?
No, let's just leave it there, because let's go about the first one. Where would that first one fit in this?
Oh yeah. Okay. So when we're thinking about what was it? The first one, he said,
path.
Yep. He scattered it and it fell on the road and the birds came and ate them up.
And it says that there was no understanding.
He didn't understand it. And the evil one came and just snatched it away. I mean, I guess that would be survival. The listener was in a survival state, probably. Right. Because nothing, so when we're in that survival state, nothing is entering it. So,
well, nothing is important but to live.
Yeah.
Right now I need to survive right now. So all those things are important for tomorrow, probably, or in 2 weeks or whenever, but not today, not right now.
Like they couldn't even hear it. Like even what they heard, it was taken.
And remember the eyes and the mouth and dampening that ear. The fear didn't let them hear what was happening.
And he even said, for the heart of this people has become dull. Their ears can barely hear. They have shut their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart.
Yes. And why would the Father do that? You know, it's like, do you want to live in survival mode?
No.
So he doesn't let you for a reason, because otherwise you would stay there.
Yeah.
We would stay in the desert and never get out of it and go into the promised land, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So what happens to the second one?
So the second one was, it fell on rocky ground. They didn't have much soil. They sprang up immediately because the soil wasn't deep. So he himself said, the rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. He has no root himself, but lasts only a short while. When the trouble or persecution comes because of the word, immediately he falls away.
So it had a little bit of root. So it wasn't in survival anymore, right? It got to,
The limbic, that emotional part of that person
yeah.
wasn't stable enough
Mhm.
to move forward. So like, oh, persecution comes,
Mhm.
someone judging my character, that's that emotional part of myself. Like, we all need to be affirmed and validated, but if it's not coming from the source, God, our validator.
Mhm. So what happens if I come in and I'm so mad because something happened to me out there, and that's why I came in, Mary Catherine, and then you are not in survival, you're not in limbic, you are actually an executive, you are calm, you sit in with him in heavenly places, you know who you are, you know you haven't done anything wrong. How would you react to my screaming?
I would be able to calm you with my calm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And ask me, yes, that's awesome. And then you ask me, you know, let's say I'm her mother. You ask me, Mom, what's going on?
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, let me tell you. I just, and then I would just tell her, and then she's realized, okay, it's not about me. She had a horrible situation, she almost got killed by somebody.
The offense isn't personal.
No.
You're able to decipher, this is their world. My world is secure.
Yeah.
And if anything, but also I know for me, I would have been the person to be like, oh, it's my job to pull them out. And it is, as brothers and sisters, we want to bear with one another and the burdens.
But you're my mirror, right? So if you come calm and you said, what happened? Then I'll tell you what happened. And by the time I tell you what happened,
you're settled.
Yeah, then you say, wow, that was hard. It was. So I'm validated, I'm done.
Right. Yeah. You validate them, and then it's not mine to carry further.
No,
right.
No, you're just to be there as a bouncing wall for me to realize, oh, because if I see a mirror, I'm seeing you calm and collected, but I'm seeing my face distorted.
Yeah, and like, why can I not match her vibe? I want to vibe with you.
Yes.
That's what they say these days. I'm vibing with you. You're like, what?
Yeah, they speak more truth than we actually give them credit, right? So then we go to the thorn.
We're coming up on 30 minutes. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, so let's go to the thorns. Well, we're going to finish with the thorns and then we can break it up.
Yes. So the next one, they fell on the thorn, or they fell among the thorns grew and choked them out. And then he himself says, this is the one who hears the word, the worries of the world and the seduction of wealth choke the word and it becomes unfruitful.
That's still, it has roots, so not survival, but it's still limbic.
Yeah.
So
and this is where we talk. Well, we could actually talk about that in the next part.
Well, just finish it.
Okay.
We'll go into.
So this is where we were saying, this is when you think about the Shema, and he says, I'm gonna.
Oh no, go ahead. Let's do the Shema in the next one.
Yeah.
But so the person probably feels loved because you know it's growing, but then doesn't feel connected.
Right.
What does the thorns do?
Yeah, they choke them out.
Yeah, it disconnects. So then at that point you feel like, I can survive.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just gave in to that and let it be taken.
Right.
Instead of able to hear.
So now we have covered those and we're going to go into the good soil and the nitty gritty of this and how to make it work.
And we'll stop.
Stick with us. Go ahead, Danielle.